inches and whatever.
All right, so we've got a general layout of our rectangle here where we want things. I've tried to kind of measure off the barn, make sure things are at least look square off of some existing structure. That's generally what I do. And so now we're ready to make this rectangle a perfect rectangle. So we need to make sure that all of our corners here have a 90-degree or right, we've got right angles here. That'll help us make sure that everything is kind of laid out correctly. You don't have to be exact with the greenhouse. I mean, I'm figuring as long as we're within an inch on our diagonal measurements, we should be pretty good. So wife and I have laid out everything here, and I've got some string lines put together today. And a little trick that I learned from some friends of mine that did construction is it's called the 3-4-5 rule. And so as you probably know, you can use Pythagorean theorem to figure out your length here on one side, your length here on one side, and then you figure out your diagonal measurement using the a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and those diagonal measurements should be perfectly accurate or equal on both diagonals. That'll make sure you have a perfect square or perfect rectangle. There's also a quick way to make sure that you're on the right track, and that's a 3-4-5. And so you measure from your corner here 3 feet on one side, 4 feet on another side, and then the diagonal measurement right here should be 5 feet. And I just put some black marks on this string line here, and so I've got a black mark right over here and right over here. And so just one person, without having to stretch a tape all the way across my giant rectangle here, I can tell you that this right angle is just about perfect. If it's a little bit short, then I need to move this one in a little bit. If it's a little long, you need to move it out that way. So that'll kind of give me an adjustment here on the next one, and I can remeasure everything again and make some fine adjustments again, and then remeasure. So 3-4-5 rule. It's easy to remember. 3-4-5, 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared, and that's the idea behind it. So so now we've got everything laid out here. Everything is perfectly straight. I'm going to finish pounding these corner posts in, and then we're going to get all of our conduit supports, stakes pounded into the ground on both sides. It's okay. Keep going. It's okay if it touches in the middle a little bit. Okay, stop right there. Okay, go. All right, well, it's starting to come together, and I think this kind of wraps up building the structure of the greenhouse. I do have one more support. I've got the middle support on, but I do have one more to run down each side, one over here somewhere and one over here somewhere. I'll kind of spread it out evenly so that we've got support all the way down. And I did notice a little bit of curve in this, and I measured this thing, measured it. It is dead center in all the hoops, but the hoops are, some of them have got a little bit of a twist to them, some of them kind of lean a little bit the other way, one way or the other, so that's where you get this little bit of curve. But I do assure you it is measured perfectly down the center of each hoop. So, but that's something I'll have to, I think as I tie in the sides, that will correct itself, as well as once we get some warmth in here. And right now it's about 44, 45 degrees out, and so the plastic's still a little bit stiff, but I think once it warms up real good, it'll kind of set into place and form into more of a perfect hoop here. But everything came together really well. I've got treated lumber. These are 2x6s all along the sides here. I did decide to drill a hole directly through the plastic conduit, then it's through the metal conduit that's in the inside of this, the stakes, and using these 3-inch carriage bolts to kind of set that all in place. These clamps work pretty good, but without it being anchored to the actual stake behind here, or that's going into the ground, this whole thing could lift off once I get plastic on it. It becomes a big sail. So, but everything else worked out really well. I attached and tied these 2x6s together with just a piece of scrap decking that I had. And this is giving me a flat surface on the outside here to attach the plastic to. Ground is a little bit unlevel. I didn't level this out by any means. This all slopes down towards me here, and that's fine. I'm not, I don't care about it being level. I want it to just slope with the ground. And I did have to kind of level out a few areas here. You can see the boards are kind of up and down, and there's some gaps at the bottom. I'll just have to pile some dirt on the outside once we're done here. But so on these connections here, I did use these same carriage bolts, and I just widened the hole out on the top of the 1-inch pipe there, the hoops, so that the square part of this carriage bolt fits right down into that flat. And then I wish that I could have got one that was about a 1/4 inch shorter. 2.5 inch was just too short. I just couldn't get a nut on there good enough, and so I went with 3-inch. So we've got a little bit of the bolt that's sticking out there, but I think that'll be just fine. I did decide to go with a spacing of 4 feet between all the hoops instead of 5 feet, which gave me an extra couple support braces. That was a good recommendation from some people. A lot of people recommended that I go with larger than 1-inch conduit here. Honestly, that would have been great. I mean, the bigger the better. If I could have gone with 1.5 inch, that probably would have been the best, or even 2-inch, but the cost doesn't just go up a little bit, it goes up a lot, because then I got to get bigger metal conduit for them to fit in down here, bigger clamps, and then the pipe is significantly more expensive, 3, 4, 5 times the cost to get 1.5 inch versus 1 inch. So the cost really adds up. So I think this will be fine. We've got almost 10 feet in the center here from the top of the arch there to the ground. And so it gives us a real nice amount of space. I also decided that my distance in between here, the width of the greenhouse, instead of being 20 feet, I went with 18 feet. So I moved it in about 2 feet, and that raise the peak of the arches up, give a little more strength down the center. And also a great recommendation from people is that it gives me more usable space down the edges, so it's not such a low curve and I've got all the unusable space. I can walk, you know, right down the side of this thing with no problem, so that gives me a lot of a good usable space in there. I'll probably have tables along the side here, or, you know, aquaponics or plants or other things, since we'll be starting a lot of seedlings in here along the sides anyway. But still a lot of usable space in here. It's really big. We got a lot of space in here. So ended up being 48 feet long by 18 feet wide. It's getting dark out here. It's kind of misty and rainy, and so I apologize, the video quality is probably not that great, but we're getting, our January thaw is just about over here, so I got to get out tomorrow as my last day of decently warm weather where I can work with this plastic piping and not have to worry about it breaking or anything like that. It's supposed to be about 50 degrees tomorrow, so that should give me a good amount of time to finish this up, the structural part of it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is build the end walls, and I'll take you guys along for that. I won't videotape the rest of the structure building just because it's supposed to be raining tomorrow, and it's not going to be good videotape weather. So next time you guys will see this greenhouse, that should be finished up, and we'll be working on the end walls. And then lastly, we're going to get our plastic put on, so that gets delivered tomorrow. So we're excited, can't wait to get this thing finished up. But thanks for all the suggestions on the planning video, guys. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? How's it coming together? What are your thoughts? For those of you guys looking to build a greenhouse like this, hopefully this helps you guys out, get some ideas of how I'm going about it and how it's coming together so far. I'm real happy with it. It's getting more and more structurally firm as I add those supports in, and it's coming together real nicely. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.